We want to begin the day with the politician standing her ground, yet running awfully fast to escape the fate of those like her. German Chancellor Angela Merkel, she has quickly become the longest-serving leader in the West, but also, as you'll see her in that picture there, she's the last in her class. While Cameron, Renzi, Hollande, and Obama are becoming history, she wants to stay in power. Well, today, her Conservative Party, the CDU, re-elected her as their leader. Inside the convention hall were 1,000 delegates and about 1 million refugees. Merkel's policy decision in 2015 to let refugees from the Syrian civil war come to Germany has earned her praise around the world for doing the right thing, but at home, it haunts her. Now she's under pressure to prove to the voters that they, not the migrants, are her top priority. At the same time, she's now expected to lead the free world in a new era with the in-your-face attitude of Donald Trump. As Merkel said today, the next election, the near future, will be something we've never had to face before.
She did it again. Germany's Christian Democrats re-elected Angela Merkel as the party's leader. I accept your choice and I'm pleased with the result. My heartfelt thanks for your trust. Her speech was marked by self-criticism and pathos. Merkel knows that she had demanded a lot of her party, and she warned that the struggle was not over yet. I cannot promise that things are going to get easier, because we must do what these times demand of us. She was referring to her government's controversial refugee policy, which many in her party question. She said last year's migration crisis must not be allowed to repeat itself, and she reached out to critics by taking a hard line on one touchstone issue. We show our faces in interpersonal communication. That plays a big role with us. And that's why the full-face veil does not belong here. It should be forbidden wherever legally possible. It does not belong in our country. But not even that speech aimed at her critics was enough to silence opposition to her course. It used to be that what was called the CDU also really was the CDU. This is no longer the case. We have thrown many Christian democratic principles overboard. Merkel is up for the challenge. She has been voted in as party chair for another 2 years and wants to be elected chancellor once again. Our heart beats for Germany and for Europe, and for this we must work. For this we must inspire people, each and every one, if possible. That's what I stand for, and I ask for your confidence for this. Merkel said that she knows that the upcoming federal election campaign will be no walk in the park. But the result of today's CDU party conference should make it a lot easier.
All right, we want to pull in our political correspondent, Michaela Köfner. She is covering that party convention for us from the West German city of Essen. Good evening to you, Michaela. I mean, 90% support. That's impressive, and it's also somewhat surprising, isn't it, considering the negative press the Chancellor has received in the last 2 years?
Well, 89.5% sounds pretty good, doesn't it? But at the same time, it's her second worst result in the 9 votes that she's seen so far as head of the CDU party. So implicit in this is actually a negative message that many delegates, pretty much everyone I spoke to here actually says, yes, they will absolutely back her as their candidate for chancellor, but this result shows that there was a political toll for her migration policy in particular, where there still is a lot of criticism from within her own party.
And there are a lot of people who still are adamantly opposed to her open-door policy regarding refugees and migrants. And today, she said, she promised that a repeat of the events of 2015 would not happen on her watch. How was that received? I mean, she was basically saying, vote for me, support me. I promise I won't let that happen again.
That got a lot of applause here in the crowd. So did her reiterating her stance that she's against the full veil. And both these points really got a resounding applause here in this hall. And clearly, I mean, one must see that although she's adamant that she didn't change course on her open door policy, let's be honest, the lady does protest too much, because what we have seen over the past year is a whole succession of laws affecting asylum and basically limiting those the pathway to seek asylum in Germany further, with declaring more countries safe. So that clearly is something that has changed over the last year, although she does say it's not a change of policy.
She says she's not changing policy, but of course, what's inside the policy platform, the realities on the ground look different. That's one point. The other point is what's going on outside of Germany. Merkel really is the last in her class when we talk about heads of state. Obama, Renzi, David Cameron, Hollande, they're all becoming history. Did you get the sense there that she and the party delegates are aware that, as far as this game is concerned, she's the last player?
Well, this partly is in the nature of her being the longest-serving European leader. I mean, she has been German Chancellor for some 11 years now. So she has seen many political leaders come and go. She herself has time and time again rejected that title. I mean, the New York Times put it as the last one standing up for the free world. She basically, in a very unusually emotional moment during her speech, said, look, I absolutely need your support from you delegates, and no single person alone, no single country alone can solve the problems in Europe. Now, she doesn't seem to be coming through with this, because there seems to be an attitude across Europe, but also partly within her own party, that in the end, Merkel will fix it. So in a way, her political brand, Merkel, has become larger than life. And those are the shoes she has to fill over the coming 10 months. And potentially as, once again, Chancellor of Germany.
Yeah, very good analysis there. Michaela Kufner at that Christian Democrat Party Congress in the city of Essen. Michaela, thank you very much. Angela Merkel's support for a burqa ban surprised, delighted, and disappointed. British author Will Black tweeted, I can see why Angela Merkel would take a jump to the right, but to open the door to Muslim refugees, then ban the burqa is pretty messed up. UK Independent Party member Nigel Farage thinks Chancellor Merkel is behind public opinion on this issue. Too late, he writes, the horse has bolted. The Sydney-based refugee law expert Sentharun Raj accuses Germany's Chancellor of hypocrisy. Angela Merkel has called for a burqa ban in Germany. Sigh. Telling women what not to wear is not liberation. And the London-based blogger Chris King sees this as a cynical ploy for votes. Angela Merkel is clearly very worried. Announcing a burqa ban is definitely a la mode among European politicians seeking election victory. All right, let's pull in Alexander Gerlach now. He is in Boston. He's a visiting scholar at Harvard University and founder of the media group Save Liberal Democracy. Good evening to you, Alexander. In your op-ed piece that you just wrote, you write that Angela Merkel is liberal democracy's last hope in the West. Has our future really come down to this one person?
Well, it's clearly, as Michaela said earlier, there's what Merkel said in her speech, is she cannot possibly do that alone. But now she has become such a big figure that many hopes rest upon her. And actually, Germany as a whole, in terms of economy and stuff, it's not in a bad shape after her 11 years of reign, one has to say. However, so many crises taking place in the European Union and abroad would make her to change her policies like big time if she really wants to be first re-elected, and second, to also have like a successful fourth term.
And I'm wondering, how does it look on the other side of the Atlantic? When U.S. President Obama visited Berlin last month to basically say goodbye, we reported that he was passing the baton of the free world to Angela Merkel. Has she taken it, and is she ready to lead us?
Well, this rhetoric also started with the refugees when they came in 2015. I already lived in this country, which is a great thing to do, and to be here at the East Coast in the United States. But they had drawings showing the Statue of Liberty being transported to Germany, saying, okay, now the Germans take in the refugees, while in the United States, also the Obama administration wouldn't be very keen and eager to take in Syrian refugees, which has been perceived widely in, let's say, the liberal areas I navigate through as a pain and really like a sad thing. So I also, Chancellor Merkel, she's way too subtle to take on such claims for herself, like being the leader of the free world. It's also like a rhetoric that in Germany it's not really applied. However, I mean, she's like a smart woman. She knows that lots of things now rest upon her. And what she also said in her speech, that a unified Germany only exists in the context of a unified Europe.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who are critics of Merkel who say it's just going to take one big terrorist attack to change everything here. The Center for Research on Globalization wrote yesterday in a piece that Merkel may have to tighten her reign of power next year as a result of, for example, the Islamist spying scandal. There was an Islamist spy called inside the country's intelligence service. The conclusion was, if she becomes chancellor for another term next year, then a benign dictatorship is almost assured. How do you read that? A benign dictatorship?
Well, I mean, there has been, to tackle that down to some reasonable discourse, there has been debate about whether or not, like, the German constitution should also prescribe that a chancellor can only run a specific number of terms. So, like in the United States, where the president has only 2 terms. So Germany, in fact, doesn't have that. So, but still, she will be democratically elected. There's polls that see her clearly leading. Also, the Social Democrats have not coming up with a candidate yet. So, well, I and also like in regard to the terrorist attack, this has been true ever since 9/11. And there has been like a lot of things going on also in terms of let's say migrant policies or the debate about Islam, that is long before the refugees came in. And in fact, there has been like a reassuring in all European societies about what the cause and identity of the majority is. You find not many European countries who have not put in place in the last 10 years laws that define this is who we are, this is the majority, and you
don't think that,
if you come to our country, you have to do this and that course to then learn.
Alexander, let me interrupt you. Just ask you something though about the burqa ban today. She now is in support of that. A lot of people say, very cynical about that and saying she's just saying that now, basically to re-win the favor of people who were upset with her refugee policy.
Yeah, but I think that doesn't really match. I mean, you have like 900,000 refugees coming from Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan, and you have maybe 50 or 100 women in Germany wearing a burqa. This is the same thing what is in Belgium and what is in France. But again, it's identity politics. And she has a point by saying, okay, now we look in each other's eyes and we know who is the person that we talk to. Actually, a side note, that Egypt banned the burqa in public places or public buildings because of the threat of terrorist attacks. Right. So I think there is a common denominator about like saying, okay, we want to see the people we talk to. But the more crucial point, the debate is about headscarves and hijabs, where you see the face that get forbidden in the public school, for instance. Then there is the higher court ruling saying, no, this is not lawful. So it's not just the burqa, because the burqa, I think you can agree upon that, but it's not really like to balance out anything that happened in the last year in the refugee politics.
You have also written that Merkel has to be more like Bernie Sanders if she wants to win next year, and with her campaign, and that she needs to talk like the millennials. What do you mean there? I mean, does she need to talk and say what they're saying, or does she need to mean what they mean when they're talking?
Yeah, I get it. But that's actually, it's not about rhetoric. It's not about campaigning and how you talk. It's about, she is part of a baby boomer government. And if you look like at what happened in England or the United Kingdom in Brexit, in regard to Brexit, what happened in the United States in regard to Trump, you see if the so-called millennials would have voted just then, Hillary Clinton would have outwon by 95%. The same is true for the United Kingdom and the Brexit referendum. I think it's too easy to say, oh, if people don't vote, they don't have a saying. This is just like too old-fashioned. It's also not like that, oh, just say what they want to hear. I think if you look out, for instance, like in the millennials' approach to free trade and the free movement of persons, and how international they think they are the best allies of Chancellor Merkel, who is, as we heard in her speech, like very much in favor of free trade, of free borders, of traveling, of also like student exchange and stuff. And I guess that really captures the millennial mindset. However, this is a very diverse generation. It's not religiously highly affiliated. So that's something where I'd say the politics of her really needs to just closer to understand and have a look at what this generation wishes the politics of the future to be for.
Yeah. And also, I mean, they're going to have to come out and vote as well, which we see may not have been the case in the United Kingdom or in the United States at the end of the day. Alexander Gerlach, tonight joining us from Boston with the Save Liberal Democracy Media Group. Alexander, thank you very much. It was good to have you on the day.